I replaced my husband's medication with placebos, thinking it would force him to change. Greg had been on anxiety meds for 2 years. Every morning, same routine. Wake up at 9, shuffle to the kitchen in his gray sweatpants, pop the little white pill, then straight back to the couch. He'd been working from home since the pandemic, but lately, working meant maybe 3 hours of actual laptop time and the rest playing that stupid zombie game. I worked doubles at the hospital, came home to dishes in the sink, laundry piling up, him glued to the TV screen. Every time I brought it up, same excuse. The meds make me tired. I can't help it. My doctor said it's normal. So one Tuesday, I ordered sugar pills online. Took me 20 minutes to find ones that looked identical. White, round, same size. They arrived in a plain brown box 3 days later. That Saturday morning, while Greg was in the shower, I dumped his real pills into a Ziploc bag and hid them in my purse. Transferred the fake ones into his prescription bottle. The bottles looked exactly the same sitting on the bathroom counter. Week 1, nothing changed. He took the fake pill every morning, went about his day like normal. Still planted on the couch, still ignoring the trash that needed taking out. Week 2, I noticed him getting up earlier. Just by 30 minutes, but still. He made coffee without me asking. Loaded the dishwasher one afternoon while I was at work. Week 3, he started going to the gym again. That old membership card he hadn't touched in 8 months suddenly showed up on the counter, and he left the house in gym shorts at 7 a.m. When I got home that evening, he'd vacuumed the living room. Week 4, Greg was different. Really different. He was showering every day, getting dressed in actual clothes instead of living in sweatpants. His boss called him for a video meeting, and he didn't look like a mess for once. He even cooked dinner twice. I kept waiting for him to notice something was off, but he never did. Just kept taking one every single morning like clockwork. Month 2, his sister came over for lunch. She pulled me aside in the kitchen and whispered, "What happened to Greg? He looks amazing, like his old self again." I just smiled and said the new work project was keeping him busy. Month 3, I came home to find Greg on the phone with his doctor's office. My stomach dropped. He was sitting at the kitchen table with his pill bottle in front of him, nodding along to whatever they were saying. He hung up and looked at me. Weirdest thing. My doctor wants to see me next week. Says my last blood work came back and something's off with my prescription levels. I grabbed a water bottle from the fridge to avoid eye contact. That's strange. Yeah, they're running more tests. Want to make sure the medication is actually working properly. He shook the pill bottle. Maybe it's a bad batch or something. That night, I barely slept. Kept running through scenarios in my head. What would they find? Could they tell? Would Greg figure it out? The appointment was scheduled for Thursday at 2 p.m. I took off work, told them it was a family emergency. Spent the morning pacing around the house, checking my phone every 5 minutes. Greg left at 1:30 p.m. Kissed me goodbye at the door like everything was normal. I sat on the couch staring at the clock. At 2:47 p.m., my phone buzzed. It was Greg. "We need to talk when I get home." The front door opened at 3:15 p.m., and Greg moved past me without a word, headed straight for our bedroom. He opened the closet, started pulling down boxes from the top shelf. Wedding photos, old tax returns, stuff we hadn't touched in years. Then he found what he was looking for. A small leather journal I'd never seen before. Doctor asked me an interesting question today. She said usually when someone tampers with medication, there's a trigger, a reason. He flipped the journal open to a marked page. "This was tucked in your nursing textbook, the one you keep in your car. I grabbed it last week when I borrowed your vehicle." My hands went ice cold. It was my handwriting. Dates, observations, notes. Day 5, still lethargic. Day 12, slight improvement in motivation. Day 20, significantly more active. He looked up at me. "You were tracking me like a lab rat, Sarah." But that's not the interesting part. He flipped to the last page and my entire world shattered. The doctor said you'd need a reason to risk your nursing license like this. Something big. Then I saw this. He held up the final entry, dated 1 week before I switched the pills. Just 2 sentences in my handwriting. He found the bank statements, need him unstable before he can process what it means. Greg's voice was barely a whisper now. "What did I find, Sarah? What was worth destroying me over?" And then I heard it. Footsteps coming up the stairs, heavy boots, multiple sets. Greg had called more than just his doctor. The bedroom door swung open and 2 police officers stepped inside. Behind them stood a woman in a gray blazer holding a clipboard. She introduced herself as Detective Lena Novak from the Financial Crimes Unit. "Sarah Whitmore?" she asked, though it wasn't really a question. I couldn't move, couldn't speak. My legs felt like they'd been filled with concrete. Greg stepped aside to let them in. His face was completely blank now. No anger, no sadness, just nothing. Like he was looking at a stranger. "Ma'am, we need you to come with us for questioning," Detective Novak said. "We have a warrant to search this residence." Questioning for what? My voice came out high and thin. Wire fraud, embezzlement, and depending on what the medical board determines, criminal assault for tampering with prescribed medication. She pulled out a folded document from her jacket. "This warrant covers all electronic devices, financial records, and personal documents." 2 more officers came up behind her, already pulling on blue latex gloves. I looked at Greg desperately. Can we just talk about this? Please? I can explain everything. He laughed. Actually laughed. But there was no humor in it. You had 3 months to talk to me, Sarah. 3 months of lying to my face every single day. 3 months of watching me take fake pills while you wrote down observations like I was some kind of experiment. He held up the journal. Day 15. Subject shows increased irritability. What the hell is wrong with you? One of the officers stepped forward. Ma'am, please turn around and place your hands behind your back. The click of the handcuffs was the loudest sound I'd ever heard. They led me down the stairs and out through the living room. Through the front window, I could see our neighbors gathered on their porches, phones out, recording everything. Mrs. Hartley from across the street had her hand over her mouth. The Delgado kids were pointing. A patrol car sat in our driveway with its lights flashing, red and blue painting our white siding in alternating waves. Watch your head, the officer said as he guided me into the back seat. Through the window, I watched Greg standing in our doorway, his arms crossed, his face still completely empty. As the car pulled away, I finally understood. This wasn't just about the pills. This was about everything I'd been hiding for the past 18 months, and Greg had found all of it. They put me in an interrogation room at the downtown precinct. Gray walls, gray table, one of those big mirrors that everyone knows is a window. The chair was metal and uncomfortable, bolted to the floor. Detective Novak sat across from me with a manila folder thick enough to be a small novel. She didn't open it right away, just let it sit there between us like a threat. Do you want a lawyer present, Mrs. Whitmore? I should have said yes. Any rational person would have said yes, but I was still convinced I could talk my way out of this, that I could make them understand. I don't need a lawyer. I haven't done anything wrong. She raised an eyebrow but didn't argue, just flipped open the folder. Let's start with the medication tampering. Your husband's prescription for Lexapro was filled on January 3rd at the CVS on Morrison Avenue. According to pharmacy records, you picked it up for him. I pick up all our prescriptions, that's not unusual. No, it's not. She slid a photograph across the table. But ordering identical placebo pills from an overseas pharmaceutical supplier 3 days later is unusual. The photo showed my laptop screen with the order confirmation still visible. They must have pulled it from our browser history. How did you? Your husband gave us access to the home network. Apparently you share a streaming account, which means you share saved passwords. She almost smiled. Most people don't think about that. I pressed my palms flat against the cold table. Okay, yes, I switched his pills. But I was trying to help him. Help him? He was getting worse on the medication, sleeping all day, no motivation, no energy. I thought if he realized the pills weren't actually doing anything, he might try harder to improve on his own. It worked. He was doing better. You can ask anyone. Detective Novak nodded slowly. So you, a registered nurse, decided to override his doctor's treatment plan, made medical decisions for a patient without consent, and documented the results in a journal like it was a clinical trial. When you say it like that, there's no other way to say it, Mrs. Whitmore. She flipped to another page in the folder. But that's actually the smaller problem here. Let's talk about the bank statements your husband found. My mouth went dry. According to Mr. Whitmore, he noticed some discrepancies in your household accounts approximately 4 months ago. Transfers he didn't recognize, payments to accounts he'd never heard of. Those were medical bills. From my mother's care. Your mother died 6 years ago. I didn't have an answer for that. Detective Novak pulled out a stack of bank statements held together with a binder clip. Over the past 18 months, you've moved approximately $127,000 from your joint accounts into a private account under your maiden name. From there, approximately $89,000 was transferred to an account belonging to one Terrence Vance. The name hung in the air between us. Who is Terrence Vance, Mrs. Whitmore? I stared at the table, at my reflection in the metal surface, at the woman I'd become without ever meaning to. My college boyfriend. The college boyfriend you reconnected with on Facebook 2 years ago. The one you've been seeing at the Marriott on Industrial Boulevard every other Thursday during your supposed book club meetings. She slid another photo across the table. Security camera footage of me and Terrence walking through a hotel lobby, his arm around my waist. Does your husband know about this relationship? No. So to summarize, she started counting on her fingers. You've been having an affair for approximately 2 years. You've stolen over $89,000 from your joint accounts to give to your boyfriend. Your husband discovered the financial discrepancies. And your response was to tamper with his medication to keep him, and I'm quoting your journal here, unstable before he can process what it means. She closed the folder. Is there anything you'd like to add? I started crying. Not because I was sorry, not really, but because I finally understood how completely I'd destroyed everything. I want a lawyer now. I thought you might. They held me overnight. My one phone call went to my sister Rachel in Portland, but she didn't answer. I left a voicemail that probably sounded insane. Something about needing bail money and not telling anyone in the family. She called back at 6 a.m. What the hell did you do, Sarah? I told her everything. The affair, the money, the pills, all of it. The silence on her end lasted so long I thought she'd hung up. I'll see what I can do about bail, she finally said. But I'm not coming to get you. And I'm telling Mom. Rachel, please. You switched his pills, Sarah. You stole from him. You were sleeping with someone else while he sat at home thinking everything was fine. Her voice cracked. He was family. He's been at every Christmas dinner for 12 years. His mom taught me how to make pie crust. I know I messed up. Messed up? You committed multiple felonies. I don't even know who you are anymore. She hung up. Bail was set at $50,000. Rachel paid it, but she wasn't lying about not coming to get me. I took a cab home from the courthouse, still wearing the scrubs I'd been arrested in. The house was empty when I got there. Greg's car was gone. Half the closet was cleaned out. His toothbrush, his razor, his medications, all gone. On the kitchen counter was a note in his handwriting. Don't contact me. Attorney will be in touch. Tell Terrence he can have you. I'm done. Below that was a printout of one of my text conversations with Terrence. The explicit ones. The ones where I complained about Greg being boring and pathetic and how I couldn't wait until we could finally be together. I'd said those things. All of them. And now Greg had seen every word. I slid down against the kitchen cabinets until I was sitting on the cold tile floor. The house was so quiet I could hear the refrigerator humming. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Saw the news. Please tell me they got the wrong person. It was signed with just an initial. K. Karen, my supervisor at the hospital. I didn't respond. 20 minutes later, another text came through. Administrative leave pending investigation. Don't come to work. Don't contact any patients or staff. HR will be in touch. Just like that, in less than 24 hours, I'd lost my husband, my job, my freedom, and my reputation. And I still hadn't heard from Terrence. I tried calling him that night, went straight to voicemail, texted him a dozen times. Nothing. Around midnight, I finally got a response. Can't talk right now. Lawyers advise no contact. This is way bigger than I signed up for. Sorry. That was it. 2 years of hotel rooms and secret texts and whispered promises about starting over somewhere new. Reduced to 2 sentences and an apology. I threw my phone across the room. It hit the wall and the screen shattered, but I didn't care. The next morning, I woke up on the couch to someone pounding on the front door. For a second, I thought it was Greg coming back to work things out. But when I looked through the peephole, I saw a woman I didn't recognize. Blonde hair pulled back tight. Expensive suit. Expression like she was smelling something rotten. Sarah Whitmore? I'm Patricia Holt, attorney representing Gregory Whitmore in divorce proceedings. Divorce, of course. What else did I expect? This is your official notification of filing. You have 30 days to respond. In the meantime, you're hereby ordered to vacate this residence within 72 hours. The house is in Mr. Whitmore's name, purchased before the marriage, and you have no legal claim to it. I've lived here for 12 years, without contributing to the mortgage, taxes, or any equity building payments. Your income went to joint expenses, and apparently to your boyfriend. She thrust a thick envelope into my hands. Everything's in here. I suggest you find your own attorney. Have a nice day. She turned and walked back to a black Mercedes parked at the curb. I stood in the doorway, holding the envelope, watching her drive away. Mrs. Hartley was on her porch again, openly staring. I went back inside and slammed the door. The divorce papers were thorough. Greg was going for full dissolution with extreme prejudice. He wanted me to repay every dollar I'd taken. He wanted me to pay his legal fees. He wanted a declaration that I had no claim to his retirement accounts, his investments, or any future earnings. And at the bottom, in his own handwriting, was a note. I spent 3 months watching you smile at me every morning knowing what you were doing. Every single day. I thought I was going crazy, Sarah. I thought something was wrong with my brain. Turns out the only thing wrong was trusting you. I called my sister again. This time she answered. Did you get a lawyer yet? I can't afford a lawyer. I don't have any money. Everything's frozen. What about Terrence? Didn't you give him like 90 grand? He's not responding to me. A long pause. Wow, that's actually kind of perfect. Rachel, please. I need help. No. What you need is to understand that actions have consequences. You had a good man, a good life, a career, and you torched it all because you got bored or felt unappreciated or whatever excuse you've told yourself. That's not fair. Fair? You want to talk about fair? Her voice rose. Greg's been calling Mom. Did you know that? He apologized to her for not being able to stay in the family. He apologized to her after what you did to him. I didn't know what to say. Mom cried for 3 hours. She keeps asking what she did wrong raising you. I don't have an answer for her, Sarah. I don't have an answer for anyone. The line went dead. I found a lawyer 2 days later. Public defender territory since I couldn't afford anything else. Her name was Denise Pulaski, and she worked out of a strip mall office between a nail salon and a vape shop. Her desk was covered in files, and her coffee was so old it had formed a skin. So, let me get this straight, she said, flipping through my paperwork. Embezzlement from joint accounts, wire fraud for the interstate transfers, medication tampering, which falls under assault in this state, and possible charges for practicing medicine without a license. I am a licensed nurse. Your license is under review, and the hospital's already cut you loose. She tossed the papers on her desk. Look, I'm going to be honest with you. This is bad. Really bad. The financial crimes alone could get you 5 to 10 years. 5 to 10 years? That's if we go to trial and lose. If we work out a plea deal, we might get it down to 2 to 3 with good behavior. She leaned back in her chair. But here's the thing. The DA is going to want to make an example out of you. Nurse steals from husband, drugs him to cover it up, gives the money to her lover. That's headline material. They're going to push for maximum. I felt like I was going to throw up. What about the medication thing? I didn't hurt him. He got better. Doesn't matter. You made medical decisions for someone without consent. You endangered his health, and you documented it like you knew exactly what you were doing. She pointed to a line in the police report. Your own journal proves premeditation. You wrote that you needed him unstable. That's intent right there. I didn't mean it like that. Tell that to a jury. She gave me a list of things to gather for our next meeting. Bank records, employment history, character witnesses if I could find any. I left her office feeling like I was already in prison. On my way home, I stopped at a coffee shop I used to go to with Greg. We'd come here on Sunday mornings, share a pastry, talk about nothing important. It felt like 100 years ago. I ordered a latte and sat by the window, watched people walk by with their normal lives and their normal problems. That's when I saw him. Terrence. Walking down the sidewalk with a woman I didn't recognize. They were laughing about something. His hand was on the small of her back, exactly the way he used to touch me. I left my coffee untouched and drove home. The next few weeks were a blur of legal meetings and court appearances. The house sold quickly. Greg didn't want anything to do with it anymore. He'd moved in with his sister in another state and was refusing all communication except through lawyers. The criminal case moved forward. My attorney worked out a plea deal that would reduce the charges if I cooperated fully and provided testimony about how I accessed the medication and transferred the funds. They want you to name anyone who helped you, Denise explained. The overseas pharmacy, anyone at the bank who might have overlooked the transfers. Terrence. Terrence didn't do anything. He just received money. Receiving stolen funds is a crime, Sarah. They want him too. For a moment, I considered protecting him. After everything he'd put me through, some stupid part of me still wanted to believe he'd come back once this was all over. Then I remembered him walking down the street with that woman, his hand on her back. Not a care in the world while I lost everything. Fine, I'll testify against him. The deal was finalized 3 days later. I pled guilty to 1 count of embezzlement, 1 count of medication tampering, and 1 count of wire fraud. In exchange for cooperation, the DA recommended a sentence of 18 months in minimum security with possibility of parole after 12. The judge accepted the recommendation. 18 months. That's what my life had come down to. A year and a half behind bars for destroying a 12-year marriage. The night before I reported to serve my sentence, I got a letter. No return address, but I recognized Greg's handwriting immediately. I almost didn't open it. Part of me wanted to throw it away unread, preserve whatever fantasy I still had that he might forgive me someday. But I needed to know. The letter was short. Sarah, I'm not writing to hurt you. I'm writing because I need to say some things, and this is the only way I'll ever be able to. I loved you. Really loved you. When we got married, I thought I was the luckiest man alive. You were smart, funny, beautiful. I couldn't believe you picked me. The past 2 years, I thought I was losing my mind. Nothing felt right. I was tired all the time. Couldn't focus, couldn't feel anything. I blamed the medication, but deep down, I knew something else was wrong. I just couldn't figure out what. When I found those bank statements, I told myself there had to be an explanation. You would never steal from me. You would never lie. But the numbers didn't add up. And when I asked you about it, you looked right at me and made up a story about medical bills. I believed you. That's the worst part. Even with the evidence right in front of me, I believed you because I trusted you that much. After the doctor explained what you'd done with the pills, she showed me a copy of your nursing school ethics exam. You got a perfect score. You knew exactly what you were doing to me, and you did it anyway. I keep trying to understand why. Was I that bad of a husband? Did I do something to deserve this? My therapist says it's not about me, that some people just make choices they can't take back. But it doesn't feel that simple. I'm not angry anymore. Angry takes too much energy. Mostly I'm just tired. Tired of thinking about it. Tired of explaining to people what happened. Tired of waking up in my sister's guest room and remembering why I'm there. I hope you find whatever you were looking for with Terrence. I hope it was worth it. I'm signing the divorce papers tomorrow. Please don't contact me again. Greg. I read the letter 3 times. Then I folded it carefully and put it in my bag. The next morning, I reported to the Federal Correctional Institution in Danbury. They processed me in, took my belongings, gave me a khaki uniform, and assigned me to a bunk in a room with 3 other women. One of them asked what I was in for. I made bad choices, I said. She laughed. Honey, we all did. That's kind of the whole point of this place. Update 1. 6 months later, I'm writing this from the computer lab at Danbury. They give us limited internet access for emails and stuff, but I started typing this out because my therapist said it might help to process everything. 6 months down. Possibly 6 more to go if my parole hearing goes well. The first few weeks were rough. Not dangerous rough. Danbury isn't that kind of place. Mostly white-collar criminals, fraud cases, a few drug possession charges. But still, the food was terrible. The beds were thin mattresses on metal frames. No privacy, no control over anything. I cried every night for the first month. Then something shifted. I stopped feeling sorry for myself and started actually thinking about what I'd done. The prison has this mandatory rehabilitation program for financial crimes. We sit in a circle twice a week and talk about why we did what we did. Rationalization, entitlement, justification. All the mental tricks we use to convince ourselves it was okay. At first, I just went through the motions. Showed up, said the right things, did the workbook exercises. Then one day, this woman named Patrice told her story. She'd embezzled $400,000 from her employer over 5 years to pay for her daughter's medical treatment. Insurance denied the claims. Her daughter was dying. She did what she had to do, except her daughter found out during the trial, testified against her own mother, said she would rather have died than have her mom become a criminal. Patrice started sobbing in the middle of the story. This big, tough woman who'd been in here for 3 years just completely broke down. And I realized something. I didn't even have a good excuse. I wasn't trying to save anyone. I wasn't desperate. I had a good job, a good husband, a comfortable life. I threw it all away because I was bored. Because Terrence made me feel exciting. Because I convinced myself I deserved more than what I had. That's the thing about betraying someone who trusts you. You have to tell yourself a story about why they deserve it. Greg was boring. Greg didn't appreciate me. Greg was always tired. Greg didn't make me feel special. But those were just stories. The real Greg worked hard to support us. Made me coffee every morning, even when he was exhausted. Sat with me through my mother's funeral and held my hand for 3 days straight. Fixed the leaky faucet at 2 a.m. because he knew the dripping sound kept me awake. I traded all of that for hotel rooms with the man who stopped responding to my texts the moment I became inconvenient. Terrence got arrested 2 months after I reported to Danbury. Receiving stolen funds, money laundering, failure to report income. My testimony helped build the case against him. I found out through my lawyer. She came for a regular update and mentioned it almost casually. Your cooperation made a difference. The prosecutor's office is very happy. It'll look good at your parole hearing. What happened to him? 3 years. He's at a facility in Virginia. I waited to feel something. Satisfaction. Guilt. Anything. All I felt was tired. Terrence wrote me a letter from prison. One of the guards told me it arrived, but I refused to accept it. Whatever he had to say, I didn't need to hear it. That chapter was over. My family started visiting around month 4. Rachel came first. She brought Mom, which surprised me. We sat in the visiting room with its plastic chairs and vending machines. Mom looked older than I remembered. Rachel looked angry, which was fair. Why? Mom asked. Just that one word. I'd thought about this moment for months. What I would say, how I would explain, but there was no good explanation. So I told the truth. I was selfish. I wanted something I didn't have, and I didn't care who I hurt to get it. Mom started crying. Rachel just stared at me. That's it? That's all you've got? What else do you want me to say? That I had childhood trauma? That something made me this way? I don't have those excuses. I had a good life. I had people who loved me. And I destroyed it because I thought I deserved more. The visit lasted another 20 minutes, but it felt like hours. When they left, Mom hugged me. Rachel didn't. But she came back the next month, and the month after that. Alone at first, then with her husband and kids. We're not fixed. We might never be fixed. But we're talking. Update 2, 10 months in parole. Hearing is next week. My lawyer says it looks good. Good behavior, program completion, cooperation with ongoing investigations. But something happened last month that I need to talk about. Greg came to see me. I was in the cafeteria when one of the guards told me I had a visitor. I figured it was Rachel again. We'd been making progress. Actual conversations instead of just awkward silences. But when I walked into the visiting room, there was Greg, sitting in a plastic chair, looking healthier than I'd seen him in years. Clean-shaven, new glasses, a sweater I didn't recognize. He stood up when he saw me. Neither of us knew what to do with our hands. Hi, he said. Hi. We sat down across from each other, the same way we used to sit at our kitchen table. You look good, I said. It came out wrong, too casual, too familiar. You don't have to do that. Do what? Pretend this is normal. He rubbed his hands together. I rehearsed this conversation like 50 times on the drive up here. Had a whole speech prepared, and now I can't remember any of it. Why are you here, Greg? He took a deep breath. Because I needed to see you. Needed to look at you and figure out if I could ever understand any of it. Did you figure it out? No. He almost laughed. No, I didn't. I looked up everything I could find about affairs, about financial deception, about why people do what you did. Read books, talk to therapists, joined a support group for betrayed spouses. A support group? Every Wednesday night. St. Michael's Church basement. 8 to 10 other people whose partners blew up their lives. We eat stale cookies and talk about our feelings. I didn't know what to say. The thing is, he continued, everyone in that group had a reason. Their spouse was unhappy. The marriage was broken. There were warning signs nobody saw. But I kept going back to your journal. Day 5, day 12, day 20. You were treating me like a science experiment, and I still can't figure out why. I don't have an answer that will make sense. Try anyway. So I told him everything. The way our life had started to feel routine. The way I'd convinced myself I was missing something. Meeting Terrence online. how exciting it felt to be wanted again, how easy it was to rationalize taking money from someone who would never notice. Greg listened without interrupting. His face didn't change. When I finished, he was quiet for a long time. That's it? That's it. You blew up 12 years of marriage because you were bored? Because I was selfish? Because I told myself stories that made it okay? Because I never thought I'd get caught? He stood up. For a second, I thought he was going to leave without saying anything else. Instead, he said something I'll never forget. I forgive you. I actually flinched. What? I forgive you. Not because you deserve it, not because it makes what you did okay, but because I can't carry this anger anymore. It's too heavy. My eyes were burning. Greg, I'm not saying I understand. I'm not saying I'll ever understand. But I need to let go of it or it's going to kill me. He picked up his jacket from the chair. I hope you find whatever you were looking for, Sarah. I hope you learn from this. He walked out. I sat there for another 10 minutes before the guard came to take me back. Update 3. The end. I got paroled yesterday. Served 12 months of my 18-month sentence. Rachel picked me up from the facility. She'd brought coffee and a change of clothes. Regular clothes. Not prison khakis. The drive home was quiet. She'd set up the guest room at her house for me. A place to stay while I figured out my next steps. My nursing license was permanently revoked. That career was over. But I'd been taking online courses through a prison education program, business administration. Nothing fancy, but it was something. Terrence is still in prison. He's got another 2 years on his sentence. His new girlfriend, the one I saw him with on the street, stopped visiting after 6 months. I heard about it through the grapevine. Not that I cared. Greg remarried last spring. A woman he met at the support group. Ironic, right? I found out through Facebook. Someone in my family still had him as a friend. I looked at the wedding photos for a long time. He looked happy. Really happy. The way he used to look in our old wedding photos before everything went wrong. Part of me wanted to hate her. This stranger who got to have the life I threw away. But that's the old Sarah talking. The one who thought she deserved things she hadn't earned. The one who took what she wanted without thinking about who she hurt. I'm trying to be someone different now. My first week out, I got a job at a call center. Entry level, minimum wage. The kind of job I would have sneered at 3 years ago. I work my shift. Come home to Rachel's guest room, eat dinner with her family, help her kids with their homework. It's not exciting. It's not glamorous. It's just life. Day after day. Mom calls every Sunday. We talk about nothing important. The weather, her garden, what shows she's watching. We don't talk about what I did. We don't need to. Last week, I found a small apartment near the bus line. First and last month's rent, which cleaned out my savings, but it's mine. The night I moved in, I sat on the floor with a box of takeout and looked around at the empty rooms. No furniture yet, no decorations, just bare walls and a mattress on the floor. I thought about everything I'd lost. The house, the career, the marriage, the reputation. Then I thought about everything I'd learned. The group sessions in prison, the letters from my sister, Greg's forgiveness, given freely, even though I didn't deserve it. I made choices, bad ones. Selfish ones, choices that hurt people who trusted me. But I also made new choices, better ones, every single day for 12 months. And I'll keep making them, day after day, until the person I used to be becomes just a memory. That's all anyone can do, really. Wake up, try again, do better than yesterday. I threw away my old life because I thought I deserved more. Turns out I didn't deserve what I had, but maybe I can earn something new, something smaller and quieter and mine. The divorce was finalized 18 months ago. I signed the papers in prison, the last official act of a marriage I destroyed. Greg got everything, the retirement accounts, the investments, whatever was left in the savings after the restitution payments. I got a fresh start, not the one I'd imagined when I was sneaking around with Terrence, planning our escape to somewhere new. Just a chance to be someone better than I was.